Hi kids, it's Bunny with another junk journal. Tried to shoot this yesterday, but between the dog barking and the battery dying, I didn't get very far. This journal is the Spring Fairy Garden Journal, and as you can see, it's tied together with a textured sash. Not sure what it's made out of, but it's pretty. I should pull out just a little. On the cover we have this pretty fairy and a little, I guess it's a bee. Not a brooch, but it might have once been. And the fabric covered journal. The fabric is a pretty floral. And it's made of chipboard with the fabric covering. It measures 5.5 by 8.5 with a 2.5 inch spine, and God knows how big the gator mouth is. It's pretty chunky. So let's look inside. Excuse me. Inside we have the first fairy. There's a daffodil fairy. And you can journal on the back of her and all the other journal cards. There's a fairy soap ad and pretty garden flowers and pretty garden birds. And the pretty paper that you see with patterns and designs on them are by Compass and Ink. And they're very pretty. And in our first pocket, we have a quote that tells you how to get the fairies to show up in your garden. Very valuable information. And here's a pretty little girl photograph and a tag. And this fairy, I guess it's a pansy. And another fairy. And you can journal on the back of all these. Oh, and also a magical teal feather. Fairies love feathers. And flowers. It's another flower fairy. That might be dogwood, I'm not sure. And vintage music, sheet music. This fairy tuck has a tag and some pretty journal cards and some faux ephemera. It's a receipt, but it's just a reproduction. You can write on the back of it as well. And there's a doily, some more old paper. There's stamping here and there throughout. A little bee bag, and in it has more faux ephemera, another receipt, and a little teeny tiny glassine envelope with some pretty little mini journal cards and a little red ribbon. And it's a book page from a gardening book. And another flower fairy. This is a page out of a vintage book of poetry by Alfred Lord Tennyson. And it's very fragile, so I had to glue it to a page. Otherwise it would just probably fall apart. And in the center of this signature I have double pockets portraying a fairy parade, pretty much. And more journaling cards. And a 3D tag. And more journaling cards. There's another fairy picture. Oh, and the other pages that are blank are mostly tea dyed, and a lot of them have a little floral design in the corner. Here we have just a little kind of booklet kind of thing that opens, and you can write your secret message inside and tie it back up. And another page out of a flower book with crocheted flower. The other side of the bee bag with little mini journaling cards. Get back in there. Okay. And this is a vintage postcard, and it shows a scene from Ferrystone State Park in Virginia. More music. Another fairy. I think this is a poppy fairy. No, it's iris fairy, maybe. And more journaling cards. This is something, I think, from a children's book. Reproduction, of course. And here we have a button and some ribbon. Just a little tchotchke I pulled together. And in this pocket we have a little girl who wants to be a fairy, and a tag, and a real fairy. And this is just it's just a folded up piece of paper to give you something else to journal on. And in this pink polka dot pocket we have another journal card. Here's some vintage ledger paper. Here's another iris fairy. In this fairy tuck we have a bee tag, a scene from a vintage garden, and this little boy fairy, isn't he cute? Excuse me. And another piece of faux ephemera. And another book page. We have a little fabric ruffle here. Another fairy. This might be dogwood also, with another quote about fairies. And this is actually a big bag. And in it we have marigold seeds. Yes, there are seeds in there. And some big journaling cards. And a vintage bingo card. And a little booklet of paper that you can journal in. And there's lace, of course, on the edges of some of the pages. In this fairy tuck we have these fairy wing looking things are actually vintage decoration for hats. And that's my dog growling. Bowie, stop. And here's some more journaling cards. I'm not going to start over. I started too many times yesterday. Okay, Bowie, stop. Okay, here's another book page. This is a sequin ribbon from India. Very pretty. In this pocket we have this pretty tag and some journaling cards. And this pocket opens out into a big piece of paper that you can journal on. And it folds back up Just like that. My dog wants to play. More ledger paper. I forgot to put this back in the pocket, but this was in the this fairy pocket. Some more pretty journaling cards in this bag. More little mini journaling cards. More music paper. Well, I forgot to put this back in there too. Here's a pretty tag. A pretty lady with her garden flowers. And here's a fairy in an advertisement and another piece of faux ephemera that you can write on the back of. And another doily. In this pocket are some journaling cards and a tag and a vintage advertisement. And this pocket also, you remove the paper clip and it also unfolds into a full sheet of paper that you can journal on. Another bag, another journal card. This is a chrysanthemum lady fairy, I believe. Here's another, I believe this is another page from Alfred Lord Tennyson. Pretty journaling cards of fairies and birds, and a vintage faux ephemera check. Another book thing, another button, ribbon decoration. Another fairy girl. This is vintage, piece of vintage wallpaper. Another bag with more ephemera in it. In this tulip pocket, this is truly a pocket, there's a pretty tag and some journaling cards and a reproduction label for fairy cream. And this tuck is actually a tag that opens up and has little cards in it. And tucked behind it are more journaling cards. Fairies of the flowers and trees. Some book. And a little blingy cluster there in the corner. And in this pocket there's another magical feather. And more fairies and garden flowers and another bee tag. Another bag. Here's a page from a vintage cookbook. Another fairy. Just ignore my dog. No. No. Stop. Okay, back to the journal. Here's another pretty little girl. Some more flowers. Other journaling cards. Another piece of faux ephemera. Don't you just love it? I don't care. I'm not stopping. More book pages, ledger pages. In the middle of this signature, I have twin belly bands. This one has some journaling cards in it. And this one has another little mini notebook with paper that you can journal on. Pom-pom edge. And this is a library card envelope. And behind it is another tag. And a flower fairy. And fairy banquet. And some penmanship exercises. More of the cookbook. Another bag with more mini things in it. And here's some more pretty journaling cards. And a tag. And you can journal on the back of just about everything in here. And here we have clipped in a selection of coloring pages. So it's interactive. You can, when you're done looking through the journal, you can color these pictures of fairies. And inside the back cover, there's another fairy quote and more journaling cards showing a vintage fairy and some sights from around the garden. And that's it. The dog has stopped barking, and I have come to the end of the journal. I hope you like it. It'll be available in my shop on Etsy, Treasure Journals, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.